periods. So I wanted to film this video just for all the girls out there who haven't gotten their period yet and they don't really know what to expect, and so they don't really know who to talk to about it. So I am here. Hopefully I'll be able to answer all your period questions in this video. So let's start. Now, if you are in school and you get your period all of a sudden and you're in the middle of class, the best thing to do is to ask to go to the nurse, and if your teacher won't let you go to the nurse, then tell them what's happening if you can, discreetly. And if they just are one of those teachers that just won't let you go, like without you announcing yourself to the class, then tell them that you have to go to the bathroom, or tell them that you feel sick, or just make up something. You could also call the teacher over to you for help, and they'll whisper that you just started your period and you have to go to the nurse, and they will let you go. The nurse will have pads for you to use. It might not be the best ones, but they will work, and she'll help you out. If for some reason you can't get a pad and you are bleeding, you can always get toilet paper, and it works momentarily. That definitely won't hold you out. It won't hold you over for hours, but you can always like keep going back to the bathroom and doing it again. But really the best thing to do is somehow get a pad. Now when it comes to what kind of pads or tampons, I personally am not a tampon girl. So when it comes to what type of like brand of tampons or pads to get, if it is your first time having a period, I suggest pads over tampons, because tampons can be very uncomfortable, and you could, if you insert it into your vagina and you forget that it's in there, and you put another one in there and you forget that one's in there, you could potentially, worst case scenario, die. Just so you know, this is a very rare occurrence and only happens when a tampon is left inside you for many, many, many hours. But they can be very nice if you don't like the feeling of like a bloody diaper in your underwear. But also, there are certain pads that soak up the blood really, really well, and as long as you change them within the time period it says on the box, then it won't feel that gross. And so the ones that I like to get are the Always brand. They have the, it says they have wings, and that wraps around your underwear. That way you don't get blood on your underwear if you bleed too much, which can definitely happen. And if that does happen, you just use cold water in your underwear and it'll come right off. Don't worry about the blood. And if you do decide to get tampons, I think that the most comfortable ones are the ones that say they're meant for sports, because they're the most flexible. Yep. So those are a good option if you need to like go swimming, or you just cannot stand the feeling of wearing a pad. These are the best pads ever that I have used. They're the Always Infinity Flex Foam. I just feel like I've noticed that I've used lots of different pads before in the past, and the Infinity Flex Foam ones, they soak up the blood really, really, really well to where you can barely feel it. And these are the nighttime ones, which are like the biggest ones you can get, because they're really long. Because if you are bleeding at night, which happens because you don't stop bleeding on your period, it's just something that happens for it's a constant thing. And so this one is long, and you put this on the inside of your underwear, and then these are the wings. You tear that off and you wrap it around your underwear so you don't get blood on your underwear, and then you make sure to put this a little bit more farther back on your underwear. Like, imagine if my butt was here, like more here, and then my stomach's on this side. You, instead of putting it in the middle, you want to put it a little bit back, That way when you are sleeping, you're laying down, right, on your back, think about it, the blood is all going to go down because it's gravity. And then you're going to get blood on like your lower back or your butt. And that's not a fun time. So if you just put it a little bit like that, it'll be a lot better. And that's why it's always also that's why it's also really long, is because it helps with that, because that's just something that happens to like everybody. Everybody gets blood on their clothes, on their sheets from periods at some point in their lives, unless they're like so careful. These are liners. They're little tiny things. They just open up like this. That's what it looks like. And you just peel it off and you put it on the inside of your underwear, and that will catch anything like a little bit of blood, or it will catch the clear goop stuff that comes out at certain times of the month. That way it doesn't stink so much, or you won't feel it. It won't feel so gross because it's being caught by that, and it will soak it up as well. Not completely, but it won't leak for sure. It is a size chart. So this is for extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and that is the panty size, like how big your panties are specifically. And then it shows like your size and then how much you're bleeding. And then you go based off that to see which number of pad you should get. Like this one says size 4. So when I bought this, I felt like I was bleeding moderately, and I'm a medium to a large. And so that's why I got that. Oh wait. Oh, just kidding. Medium. So this number 4 would work for someone who's extra small, small, and medium, but they're bleeding in moderate to heavy amounts. But some people only need number 1, number 2, number 3, you know. It just varies on how big you are and how much you're bleeding, and that's it. If you get the pads that fit you, you probably won't have any problems with leakage or anything like that. So yeah. These are really good. You don't have to get the nighttime ones. There's also, I have it in the same box, but it's a different one. These are also always, but these are like more smaller for like daytime use. And then if it says it lasts 10 hours, I swear it lasts 10 hours. Like, you'd be surprised how accurate these are. Like, my first period, I changed my pad like every 20 minutes because I was like, ew, there's blood. And that was a bad idea. Like, I was wearing pads that lasted 6 to 8 hours, and I was changing them every 20 minutes. And not only is that a hassle, but it's also wasting a lot of money, because pads can be very expensive, especially if you're wasting them like that. Keep in mind there are much cheaper in the long run reusable options, such as Thinx period panties, which feel like regular panties, but they soak up your blood. You can just wash the blood right out, and they also sell Diva cups, which just is a cup basically that you insert into yourself, and it fills with blood, and then you dump it out. Always wrap up your pads, and then use the wrapper to wrap around the pad and throw it in the trash. Those things are not flushable. Tampons are not flushable. Don't even try it. Okay, so here are some things that I have that I would consider to be period essentials for sure. First off, this stuff, I don't know if you can see it, is cramp bark, and I only recently started using this. It kind of smells like a witch's brew, but it doesn't really taste like anything, so you just squeeze it, it gets liquid in there, and then you squirt it into some water, mix that around, and it makes your cramps go away, or at least not, it makes them lessen. So it makes your cramps not feel as awful. If you have really bad cramps, this is definitely something that is great. And I got this at Sprouts, but I'm sure that they sell it other places as well. A few days before you get your period, start drinking this with water, of course, and it just helps the health of your uterus, your vagina, the lining, all of it. And so it's even good if like you're pregnant and you want the baby to be really healthy. This is something that's also good for that. But like I said, I use it to make my cramps not so bad. And then this is also really good for cramps. And you can put that also goes on the inside of your underwear, like on the front part, or right underneath your belly button. And then they also make them for your back as well, and for different parts of your body, for like, I don't know, like sore muscles. All it does is it heats up your muscles down there and it makes them not so freaking out, you know? And it's really nice. It stays hot for 8 hours. I've been using these for years. It's really nice. And then if you don't have access to this, they sell it at Walgreens, at Walmart, other places I'm sure. And if for some reason you can't get that, you can also always just get a glass bottle with a lid and put really warm water in there, and you can put that there as well wherever it's hurting. And a hot bath is always nice. That's like my go-to if I have really bad cramps and nothing helps it. A hot bath. And then, oh, water. Water is like the most important thing ever on your period. Okay, you need to drink so much water, and you're gonna crave dark chocolate as well. It'll help a lot with like your iron levels in your body, because you got to think about how you're losing blood, and your blood is iron, and so you might feel kind of dizzy or weak. That's totally normal. You just need to eat some fish, specifically salmon, and hummus helps with that, and dark chocolate helps with that. Bananas help with that. All of that's good. And if you're really sensitive, like I am when it comes to cramps, like I can get really bad cramps just by like, there's so many like foods that I could eat that can cause my cramps to get 10 times worse, like fried food, really sugary fake foods, bread, like things that you wouldn't think are that bad, like bread. Even if you get like whole grain bread, that still sets me off. So I have to eat super healthy on my period. And if you are used to getting really bad cramps, you should start eating healthy like a whole week before you think you're going to get your period, because that'll help your cramps immensely. One way to tell that you're about to start your period is if your lower back starts hurting, like almost like cramping, but like your lower back, like it's a for sure way to tell. And then even more if you start cramping, like it starts hurting in the front, like underneath your belly button, then that's probably a for sure sign that you were about to start your period and you need to get a pad soon, like ASAP, like now. And then if you are worried about getting your period and you've been cramping but you don't have any blood, then it is wise to get like really thin small pads. They're called liners, and you can wear those in your underwear just in case you start to bleed. And those are really good for that. And they're also at certain times of the month. I usually, for me, it's usually, I'd say like 2 weeks before I start my period, like in the middle of the month, I guess, I will get like clear, I call it goop that comes out of my vagina, and that is just it's your body's way of cleaning itself down there. And so it's really nice to have those liners in your underwear to make sure that that goop doesn't get on your underwear, because it can stink. It can feel really gross, like a booger consistency. The period apps, it's a lot better just to use your calendar to track to keep track of your period, and you can write on there like just a red dot, and that way nobody knows what it is if it's like a calendar that you share with your family. But you can also just use the calendar in your phone and type the day I started my period and then the day you ended the period. That way you know how long it lasted. And then you can do that for the course of a few months to a year. And then you can, just by looking back at the data, you'll figure out like when you normally get it. And that'll be really nice, like if you're planning something in the future. Sometimes people, when they start the period, they don't get it every month. Some people get it every single month, like no matter what. Some people get it every few months when they're first starting out. My first period happened when I was like in between 7th and 8th grade that summer, and I got my period. It lasted for a total week, like 7 days exactly, and then I didn't get it again for another year. So that's just what happened to me, but I don't know anyone else that's happened to. But after that, once I started getting periods in 8th grade, like, it was like the end of 8th grade, maybe 9th grade, is when that year had passed, and then I got my periods, and I would get them much more often than every year. And I would get them like, it started out like every 5 months and then every 3 months, and then the whole 3 months thing lasted for a while, and then I would get it every other month, and then eventually I started getting it every single month, and that's how it is now. And not all girls have their period for a full week. I know some girls only get their period for 4 days every month, and like that's really cool for them, but like that just shows that everybody's body is so much different from each other. And yes, everybody gets their period, but not everybody gets it every month. Not everybody gets it for a whole week. Not everybody gets it to where it hurts really bad. Some people get it and like they don't even have any pain at all. And some people bleed a lot, some people only bleed a little. It just depends. And then normally when you start your period, you'll bleed a tiny bit, and then maybe like you'll bleed a tiny bit, and that's kind of your body's like way of like warning you. And then all of a sudden you're gonna start bleeding a lot, and that's totally normal. It's okay. You're not dying. I promise. And your period can last. Okay, so you'll bleed a little bit in the beginning, and that's your body's way of just telling you like a warning that it's about to start bleeding a lot. And then that's totally normal. It happens. So you'll bleed a lot, and then usually after a couple days, you'll start bleeding like less, and then as the week progresses, you'll just have less and less and less blood coming out of you, and then by the last day it'll be like barely any blood, and then it'll be over until next time. Usually your blood in the beginning of your period will be like, it'll look like blood, and it's gonna be a lot. You're not gonna die, it's totally okay. And then later on, like towards the end of your period week, it'll start getting more like brownish on the pad, and that's normal as well. It might stink. That's just how it is. It's gross, but at least by then you're not cramping anymore, so I guess it's okay. One time I was on a trip and I wasn't supposed to start my period for another 2 weeks, and because my 2 close friends were on their period and their mom was on her period, and all 3 of them were on the period at the same time, and I was the one with them, living with them basically, and because of this I started getting cramps because my body was like, oh, I think it's time to start your period, because like it just noticed everybody around me was on their period. So that's just how women's bodies work. It's weird. This is so not comfortable. Man. Yes. The camera's gonna die.
Sorry. I'm gonna lay down over here.
It's still recording, by the way. And then you can also, another thing you can do is you can get, they have you can make like